Hi, welcome. Does anybody here live in the 6th Avenue Business District? Gee, not one person. I've got a poster here, and it talks about Porch Fest. And Porch Fest happened last year, too. And it's a honk band leading a procession all over the 6th Avenue Business District. And it costs nothing, and if you know somebody in that neighborhood that has a porch, invite yourself to go sit on it. Or bring a musical instrument to play on it, so when the procession passes you, you can participate. Now I can't see anybody. So you can see that it's August 5th, and tell me what the hours are. Okay. And is there any contact information on that poster in case you want to find out more? I hope.
Yeah, there's a QR code to scan. Yeah, and there's the website.
Okay, so I hope you participate. So thank you so much for coming to Tripod and staying on instead of staying on your deck drinking a margarita. It's a perfect night for it. So our first presenter is Gendron, and he's a reporter for the Tacoma News Tribune. He is originally from New Hampshire, where he lived for the first 22 years of his life. He received his bachelor's in English at Plymouth State University in New Hampshire and his master's in journalism at the University of Missouri. He's had a passion for storytelling since his adolescent years. He focuses on exploring the lived experiences of community members and finding out what stories are meaningful to them. Jared?
How's everybody doing tonight? Well, can I speak into this? Yeah. Am I able to take this off, or is it? Let's do this. All right, thank you. Thank you. Well, good night. Good evening, everybody. I appreciate the opportunity to come to this event. And thank you, Lynn, for reaching out. Really wanted to connect with more community members. I'll tell you a little bit more about me. So I'm from New Hampshire, and I moved here earlier in January this year. So I am really still kind of getting to know Tacoma. So being able to engage with, very passionate and wonderful residents is what I'm really wanting to do out here. I'm over a computer all day, and I don't always get that opportunity to network with a lot of people. So this is one story I did about a month ago. Is at the B&I market. Has anybody heard of that? Anybody been to? Okay, so you all know. All right, so yeah, everybody seems to know it better than I do. But I thought it was a really, really cool, interesting, quirky place for a story, and kind of like the theme of me being here tonight, I wrote about my experience as somebody who is unfamiliar with a lot of the kind of, hole-in-the-wall areas and spots in Tacoma, and this is one place I heard about and went to, and just kind of went in, and so I just talked about what I found interesting. So obviously, the opening, just to kind of set the scene, there's a lot of hair makeup products. I thought that was really interesting. This one store, the women in there were like, "What are you doing?" Taking photos, and they didn't seem to like that I was just kind of roaming around. It's like, "You need help with anything?" But I've never seen so many mannequin heads in one store. And then there were just like a bunch of ads everywhere all over this market, and I thought that was super, super interesting. And a lot of the stores were very niche, had a very particular set of merchandise. I don't have it pictured here. There was one store that I can only really describe as like the giant aluminum pot and boombox store. That was like their main thing. And again, I didn't want to take a photo of it because I had the feeling that they're gonna be like, "What? Hey, wait, what are you doing? Like taking photos of our stuff here?" So, but yeah, this is a rodeo one. Unfortunately, a lot of the stores were closed. Not going forward. Oh, I'm clicking the. There we go. All right. So we had some hats, and oh, it's not going forward. Maybe I have to hold it up. And this was the firefighter store, which I thought that was pretty neat as well. Like again, so many of them are just like very particular marketplaces. So this was actually one of my favorites to go into. It reminded me of my grandma's house actually. No, I mean that in a nice way, but this one was really interesting because like at the front of the store you had like very traditional religious paraphernalia, statues, merchandise, and then in the back of the store there was just like, oh come on, go. Maybe I have to hold it down. It's not. Okay. No. Yeah, right to go the right way. Oh, okay, yeah, this one. Yeah. Yeah, actually, I sent this to my coworker. It kind of looks like him, so. The one on the right, the leprechaun. So, but yeah, no, the back of the store had, come on. There we go. Yeah, these, I don't know what these are about. Yeah, I don't know what these are about, but apparently they're supposed to bring like good luck. We asked I don't know, but there's a little bit of a language barrier between us and the shopkeeper, so we weren't really exactly sure what these were about, but I almost brought one home too, but I didn't know where to put them. Come on. All right, so yeah, these ones, slightly less creepy. Yeah. I'll go past it. That's enough of you. All right. Another thing I really liked about the market, it really reminded me of like going to an arcade and that I had in my small town in New Hampshire. I'm from southern New Hampshire, and I'm not like in the middle of nowhere. I'm like close to Massachusetts, but we had an arcade in my hometown, and like going to the mall and stuff. This really brought back like a lot of early 2000s vibes for me. So a lot of the different stuff in the market was something that was like, it felt like a time capsule from the 90s. Come on, go. All right. Yeah, like stickers, and did I have some? I don't know if I had something else before that. All right, I'll just. Another thing that was really enticing about the market was the history behind them. I'm sure many of you know about the Ivan the gorilla, who was there in captivity for nearly 3 decades before he went to Atlanta in the 90s following animal rights efforts. So that having like a full display of old publications and news articles and photos is like really interesting to, you're there to shop at these quirky places, but it's also like has a really quirky history too. Like, and nothing I would ever happen like that in New Hampshire or New England. So come on. Wow. Yeah, it's I think when you talk to it, all right. Yeah, so yeah, more photos. There you go.
Was the gorilla actually housed at the market?
Yeah. Yeah, he was in a cage there. Yeah, and he lived at somebody's house for some point as well. You had a kitten? Yeah. Oh, you did? Really? I gotta. I thought you meant like he gave birth to a kitten. I misheard you. I don't know what these are about. I've never heard of any other animals at the market, but I know it used to be called the B&I Circus, so maybe. I don't know. I didn't do an in-depth research on the market too much. I just wrote about it. Yeah, the focus was me and my focus at the market. Oh, this is my favorite part. So there were these like machines in the back that were like you put a coin in and it like tests your love meter, and I thought this was like the funniest part of it. So I definitely had to try them out. Well, hold on. We'll get to that. Hold on. Like not one, but three of them. Yeah. So I did bring a date here after going the first time. I unfortunately didn't get to impress her with my rating, but.
Are you going to tell us your results on the KISS?
Well, hold on. Wait, hold on. I'm just I'm a bit slow on the controller. Sorry. Wait. No, how did I go too far? No, I'm sorry. How do I do this? No. How did this happen? I can't believe this has happened. Oh, all right. So here are the scores. I don't know who like came up with the ratings in themselves, but come on. Where were you on that? No. We'll get to that. Hold on. I'm just this controller is is not loving me right now. So, well, no, I passed it. Oh, I guess I'll read this before I go back. Oh wait, never mind. I got 107. So what is that? That's passionate above 90. Above that's passionate lover. But yes. Just in case anybody needed to know, it's not a don't not go to your doctor because you use the machine. All right. I don't know who Dr. Ruth is. Actually, I never looked that up. Well, really? Wow. Wow. I promise I'm clicking this. I'm not like trying to keep everybody in anticipation every slide. All right. The KISS meter, the coveted KISS meter, everybody's wanted to try this out, I hear. So mine was 100, if I'm saying that right. So what is that? So not exactly passionate, but stimulating. So you don't feel. So you will feel alive if I kiss you. I don't know what kind of emotions, but yeah. All right, the romance meter. So at 125. Okay, exciting. All right, not quite to the top. But this was another funny one. Was accurate weight scale, which I'm sure many of us do or don't weigh ourselves, but I don't know. I wanted to try it because it had a horoscope too. Yeah. Weight, lotto, daily fortune, like the 3 morning essentials next to breakfast, which I didn't. So this isn't my weight. I didn't put my weight on here because it was wildly inaccurate, but those were my lucky numbers. And to end it off, I guess a nice little proverb: "Life is what you make of it." So, which the other ones I got were actually like really generic as well, but I like that one the most. So that's it. Questions, of course. I'm sure many of you have many burning questions at the moment. I did go through a lot of that, so.
Put those answers to the test.
Yes.
Did the trib pay for those coin-operated machines for you?
No, I had quarters, so.
Okay. And what other places are you going to do stories on?
Oh, one I did recently. This is a travel story. I went to Port Townsend and I stayed at Manresa Castle. Have any of you heard of that? Yes. Have any of you stayed at the castle? What was it like for you? I'm sure you know the sort of the legends around the castle, right?
Well, I didn't really pay attention to the legends, but it was an interesting place.
Yeah.
That's about all that I can say about it.
Uh-huh. Yeah, so that was published this past week, actually. What's that? Oh, it's haunted. The whole town's haunted, which
Did you get any evidence to support or deny?
some stuff did happen, actually. No, yeah, not to spoil everything in the story, but my friend that I went with, so I was like downstairs at midnight talking to one of the employees. And she was upstairs, and our bathroom door opened and closed, and she thought it was me. And when she realized it wasn't, she was just like, "This is weird," and just kind of stayed in bed. So, but like other stuff happened too. I went down to this like basement cellar that one of the employees says she won't go in alone. So I like videotaped myself in there, and one time when I was going down the stairs, there was like a door that was like shaking. I thought it was somebody coming out, but I didn't hear anybody on the other side, and there was no like shadows underneath. So I don't know, but the employees like say all kinds of stuff happens there, and that like that's one of the more common things. I spoke with a guy who he showed me his spell book, so he like practices spells. And it was just like it was just kind of bizarre. So he couldn't sleep either because his door was shaking. So I was like, this isn't like quite the supernatural experience I was expecting, but I guess that place attracts a lot of people. Let's see, like I don't have any other travel stories at the moment in the queue, but that was like another feature that I did recently, which was really fun to do. Nice weekend.
Do your stories come out on a certain day?
I write every day, and just whenever my editor gets to them, they're published. So no, not any specific day. I don't have a schedule like a lot of like columnists, if that's what you're asking. But a lot of my stuff is I'm on a service journalism team at the paper, so I don't necessarily cover like one topic area in the city. I write across a bunch of the Northwest papers, so like Bellingham and Olympia, even Idaho, Boise. So sometimes my stuff is published over there. So I cover stuff in the city, but I also like write for Washington, the wider state, and just the Pacific Northwest in general. But we do try to like curate to local readers. That's like definitely our focus.
Do you want any story suggestions from this audience?
Oh, please, yes. Yes, sir.
I hear tripods are really good.
No, I mean, these community events are like, this is what makes the town, and it's like, it's you guys that are here to, this is why stories happen, so.
Do you like oysters?
I can't say I'm a big oyster fan. I'm not like that East Coast, kind of East Coast. I'm like I don't know, if that's what you mean, like
If you're in the middle of an area where you could spend 2 or 3 weeks going from one oyster farm to another, finding wood and mussels, that would be an interesting.
You mean here?
Oh, yes.
Oh, I thought you meant like back east. Okay.
And of course, well, have you in your life ever enjoyed, a couple dozen freshly shut oysters?
A couple of times, yeah. It's never been like I want oysters every year for my birthday, but no, thank you. Yeah. Yes.
Our next presenter is going to talk about the Grand Cinema.
Okay.
And that would be a very interesting story, I think. Do you know, maybe you'll hear more about it.
For sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah.
Anybody else? Thanks, Jared, that was great. Philip Cowan is next, and he's lived in Tacoma since 1998. Prior to moving here, he worked as a financial analyst after obtaining degrees in finance and international business. Though he had never been to Washington State, Philip interviewed by phone for a position with the Tacoma Rainiers Baseball Club and excitedly moved here, never to leave. Philip worked for the Rainiers for 8 years, serving in positions of Director of Ticket Operations, Assistant General Manager, and Director of Finance. In his later years with the Rainiers, he began looking for new opportunities and landed on the Grand Cinema. Has everybody been here to the Grand? It's very popular. Philip first began there as a volunteer and later joined their board. The newly defined position of executive director was created at the Grand in 2006, and Philip took leave from the board to apply and was soon hired in the position he remains in today. In his spare time, he loves to hike and travel, especially with a 16-year-old daughter. A favorite father-daughter bonding experience of theirs is traveling around the world to see the musical Hamilton together. Philip?
Okay, perfect. We'll see if I have any better luck with the thing here. So welcome everybody. She said I'm Philip. I've been at the Grand for 16 years now, and I'm going to talk just a little bit about of the history of the Grand, and then some of the things that we do that you might not know about besides the movies, and then talk a little bit about how we get movies and how they stay and stuff, kind of behind the scenes on that. So that's just a picture of the Grand. So the Grand started. See, it wasn't just him. There we go. Whoop. That went a bunch. Let's go back. Got one more. Okay. So the Grand started as a for-profit enterprise in the mid-'90s, and by a guy who all over the region started multiple movie theaters, but never was very successful in keeping them open for very long. And so the Grand had a bunch of people who really liked what they were doing, and they stepped forward as volunteers and assumed the debts of the organization and turned it into the nonprofit Grand Cinema, where they opened the doors in April of 1997. So that's just a newspaper story from the News Tribune. And the first movie they played in April of that year was an international film called Kolya. And I don't know much about the film itself, but it is an example of, we're always looking for smaller films from around the world that you're not going to get the chance to see someplace else. But beyond the films, which people know about, we're also doing a lot of other things behind the scenes that you might not know about. One of which you might have guessed from the pictures that you've already seen. Film camps. About a decade ago, we started doing camps at the Grand for youth aged 10 to 15. Really trying to teach them storytelling in ways that hopefully is transferable to not becoming a filmmaker necessarily, but telling a story and working with groups and things like that. We really want to teach things like that. We've been doing it at the Grand for a number of years, and then 2 years ago we started thinking, it's like, okay, not everybody can have access to the Grand, so we want to make sure we get out into the community to people who can't make it to the Grand. So 2 years ago we started in Hilltop and Salishan, offering free film camps for kids there. And that's largely supported by the Tacoma Creates tax initiative that was passed about 6 years ago, if you were here. And it does truly help us do programs like this because it doesn't bring in any money to do those out in the community. But we really like it because it's important. There's a group of all the kids at the Grand. One of the other activities we did during COVID, people couldn't go inside the movies, so we purchased a big outdoor inflatable movie screen. And so now we take that out in the community on weekends. We've got one going this weekend. And we partner with Metro Parks, and we partner with Pride, and a lot of other different organizations to bring them all over the city. So again, it's not us waiting for people to come to Grand. We're trying to bring movies out to them, and of course, they're free. Asia Pacific Cultural Center is another one we've done for multiple years as well. So it's a lot of fun. There's one at People's Park. We also do the Tacoma Film Festival. That's the first film festival in 2006. We've been doing it ever since. Starts on the first Thursday in October every year, and it's a really good chance, throughout the whole year we're curating films behind the scenes. It's a really good chance to see some smaller films that wouldn't get theatrical releases a lot of times, particularly short films. There are some amazing short films out there, and we pull together some really good short film packages, a lot of times with a theme. So if you look through our guide when it comes out, look for themes that interest you, because we're going to have a lot of good stuff. We also promote local filmmaking. So this is a film team from Olympia for our 253 film competition. In May of every year, we give local filmmakers criteria, 4 or 5 different criteria that everybody has to use in a film. And then they have 72 hours to go make a short 253-second film. And then we show them to a really big audience. So that's a group of all the filmmakers at the Urban Grace about 2 years ago. So that is my total favorite event of every year, so watch for that one. It's a lot of fun. We also do the Academy Awards party. This is people lining up outside the Grand coming in for the Academy Awards party. A lot of people really dress up for that one. And we have special events. You could bring your dog to a movie occasionally. We watch for films that are themed with a dog, and people have a lot of fun with that, so watch for those. If people often ask, can we bring our lizard or something like that? But so far, we stuck to dogs. And we also work with local people. So on every other weekend, including this weekend at 10 o'clock, we'll do our Weird Elephant film series. They're kind of cult classic kind of films. But what these are is we work with local artists that kind of create a poster for that. And so it's a really good way to work within the community and then gain some interest for both their work and our films as well. We started doing, about a couple months ago, the Silver Screen Society, where we're also bringing in, various themed films. We did a Studio Ghibli week a couple of weeks ago, and doing other things like that. And we're kind of playing with the format on it. We'd done it like a dedicated screen to it in the past, and then didn't do it every week. But I think what we're going to do now is have a half a screen pretty much every week. So continuously there'll be 2 old films, and usually have some kind of a theme to them. So if one week's theme doesn't work for you, the next week might, and you might come up with some good films that you get a chance to see. Maybe see again, or maybe see for a first time. This is our lower lounge down there at the Grand. A couple years ago, we repainted it and kind of rebranded it, so it's a kind of a good place to hang out. And we encourage people to, before or after a movie, wander down there, have a seat on the sofa, you can buy a wine up front, come down there, chat with friends. Or we also do film discussions after films a lot of times. We do rentals of movie theaters where people can bring in your own movie with friends. We do birthday parties, anniversary parties. We've had proposals, we've had weddings, we've had all kinds of stuff going on down there. Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about now on the films themselves. So this is just kind of a place marker for Oppenheimer, which we're opening now. So I'm the person who picks the films at the Grand. And a lot of people are always asking how we do that. For smaller films that are international, I can read reviews from maybe whatever their source country is. Really small films that maybe don't have any reviews, haven't played at a film festival, I can get screeners for those and watch some of those at home. But for every film that you see at the Grand, I maybe have watched 4 to pick it, weed out some of the ones that you don't see, so I don't have time to see everything. So big films like Oppenheimer or Barbie, which we just opened, I don't see those ahead of time. There's enough pedigree behind them that I know to trust them. Or if there's a Wes Anderson directed films, I don't need to see that ahead of time. I know to trust things like that. But a lot of other ones I watch as best I can, and because I've learned Tacoma's tastes over the years and know most of the time what films work. And the main thing as a nonprofit, we're really interested in the quality of films more so than just the straight attendance of them. Sometimes we do definitely need films that have strong attendance. if you're following anything in the world, you know Barbie and Oppenheimer just opened, and we opened them both last night to huge crowds. Today, we started today with more ticket sales for the day than we'd had any other day this year, and that was before we sold any tickets today for films. So Barbie and Oppenheimer are very popular. I'm wearing a Barbie Oppenheimer shirt up here. Buy them at the Grand, $25. One of my favorite things to do is kind of discover films. Well, I also I'm one of the perk of the job. I go to the Sundance Film Festival each January and scout out films over like 10 days. I see about 40 films, which is fun yet hard. Those are films that are going to kind of come out over the whole year. So it's really in 1 week I can kind of scout out a whole year's worth of films. You get to see a lot of films with the casts there at them. Various ones like that. And this one's not related to me picking films, but my favorite Sundance experience ever, and Elaine knows this, a couple of years ago, so when the movie RBG for Ruth Bader Ginsburg came out, documentary, I made my way into a little reception and speaking thing that only like 100 people in. And so that's Robert Redford on the right, introducing Nina Totenberg from NPR interviewing RBG on stage, and you can see that's literally my seat, and I was like, that was, my favorite thing, and I love that. Favorite film I've ever kind of discovered, small one called Kinney. Probably nobody saw that. It was about 15 years ago. It was a small Australian film. We ended up being the first theater in the country to play it. Soren Anderson, when he was writing for the News Tribune, as soon as he watched it, he called me up, and it's like, where did you find this film? This is a gem of a film. And it's one that you watch. It feels like a documentary, but it's not. And it's based on a guy servicing porta potties in Australia, and it's hysterical. So at some point, we've replayed it once or twice, so at some point in the next few years, I imagine we'll replay it again. So if you see that, watch for it. I don't know if it's on Netflix or anything, but... you can't really see this, and it's not so much to see it, but kind of talk about it. People are always asking, how long are you going to keep a film? And I never actually know. The whole industry on Sunday nights, they look at the grosses for a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then rank the films. The films that did the best over a weekend stay, and the ones at the bottom leave, assuming you've got something else coming in. So that's just this past weekend nationally, the grosses of the film. So everybody looks at those weekend grosses, and that's what really determines what films stay. So if a film just comes in for a week and you say, I didn't get a chance to see it, it's really because not many other people came to see it and it wasn't getting the support. So we need to bring in some other film. Also, I should say too, it's a big jigsaw puzzle because the distributor, like a Barbie and Oppenheimer, is a defined one day. You know what day that one's going to come out. A lot of our smaller films, I'm kind of piecing together our schedule. So, like Barbie and Oppenheimer, I don't know how long they'll be here, but I can guarantee it'll be at least a month because they're really big films. We've had films be here for a week. We've had films be here for 4 months. And so I'm always trying to piece out the jigsaw puzzle on that and guess on films. Smaller films you never actually know. There's a power relationship in the industry. The big films like Barbie and Oppenheimer, they make you pay a really high percentage of your gross to the distributors because everybody wants it. So they'll charge 60 or 65% of every ticket price will go back to the filmmakers. On a small film, it's the opposite. We'll usually get to keep 65% on a small international film like that. So it's just whoever has the power on that. Yeah, so we'll do just a very short little video here. I don't know if you're going to do the sound. This is just, I took this yesterday to show kind of the value added that we do on things. This is some of the setup for Barbie that we were doing out in front of the Grand yesterday. This is just about 30 seconds if you want to see that. Go ahead and roll. We had dancers out there. They're just practicing there. This is all during the setup. We had pink balloons everywhere. Set up people dressed up. And then we had a Barbie car parked out front. And so that's, so yes, you can say that all the mainstream theaters are playing Barbie. Why is the Grand playing Barbie too? there's a lot of interest, and it's the busiest day of our year so far. But we also try to add value to it. You're not going to see these things at a mainstream theater, so you're going to get something a little bit special when you come to the Grand. And as an example of some things that are making it difficult right now, the writers and actors are on strike right now, so it's already changing. So we had 2 films that we were planning to play in August today that have now withdrawn, and so we don't know when they're going to come out, not because the films haven't been shot, but because the stars of them are not going to be out there to promote the films, and they're not going to be on talk shows, they're not going to be walking the red carpet or anything of those things, so those are kind of disappear. So I'm kind of at a weird spot where after Barbie and Oppenheimer, I don't have a single film booked the rest of the year at this point because I don't know when they're going to come out. So you kind of get, we'll see what come up with in a few weeks. So, yes, well, you're coming. Yeah, we'll have a little reunion from this, and we'll all go watch Kenny together. Yeah. So I'll kind of close out here. You know, we have a lot of volunteers at the Grand, and this is just a great group of our volunteers. If you're there, the concessions and people who clean the theaters in between are all volunteers. If you ever want to do that yourself, you get a free movie pass every time you do a 3-hour shift. So we encourage you to do that. They're our lifeblood there. And then, of course, our popcorn. Everybody loves our popcorn. I encourage you to get that. So during COVID, we were closed as a movie theater, but we opened up a few times and had lines around the building to just sell popcorn. So that was a lot of fun. So that concludes what I have to present, and I will open it for any questions that anybody might have.
I know that the Grand Cinema, is this on?
Yeah.
The Grand Cinema is located in the Merlino building, and I know that the Grand Cinema is trying to buy the Merlino building. Why would the Grand Cinema want to buy the Merlino building?
So it's our home. It's kind of, we're not public on this largely yet, but it's we're doing kind of a silent phase of a campaign. So the building is for sale from the owners, and we've entered an option contract with them. So we've got about 2 years to try to come up with the money to buy the building. And it's one of those things to, you know, if you lived in Seattle, if you've been around here, you know, the Harvard exit in Seattle was sold to another company, and then the Harvard exit ceased to exist because at the end of their lease, they just booted them out. And we want to make sure that doesn't happen to us. So the best way to do it is to buy our building and preserve it as an arts institution for us, and the ballet and the Carina Bakery and Duke's Bay Theater upstairs and all the other the Tai Chi studio and all those things that are going on in the Grand. There's a lot going on in that building that you don't even know about. It's a lot bigger than you think. So keep watching. We'll be putting the word out soon, and would love your help to help keep us around by doing that. And the legislature gave us a $500,000 grant this past session, so that's a big way toward it. So we're trying to do some big things. Yay.
Philip,
Yes.
I like to picture you looking at all those films at home. Can you describe the setup? Is it a small theater, or you're doing it in your kitchen?
It's nothing fancy. I used to have just a normal TV, and I invited some friends over to watch a movie, and they were like stunned. It's like, this is just a TV. We expected so much more. Now, so based on my friends, I brought a bigger TV, but no screening room, just sitting on the sofa watching it. And you know, all of the movies stream off my computer, so I hook up my computer to the TV so I can play it on there and just watch them that way. It's like tonight I'm going to go home and watch one called Jules and see if we want to play that one in a few weeks. So.
Do you remember the films you see?
No. I see too many, but so after I watch every one of them, I have a spreadsheet and I write down my thoughts really quickly, and especially at Sundance when I'm seeing 4 or 5 films a day, I write a sheet out for them, and I'm giving myself notes on should we play it, and if we play it, how do we market it, who's the audience for it, and all those kinds of things, and so that 6 months later when I barely remember the film that I can pull out and remember what we should do with it.
Okay, I used to know the answer many years ago, but what are our top 3 historical movies in terms of attendance?
And I should say that's from Nina, a former board member at the Grand, to serve 2 stints on it. So thank you, Nina, for that. And Elaine as well, two former board members here tonight. To be honest, I don't remember our top movies offhand. The King's Speech, I think, is number 1. Big Fat Greek Wedding is in the top 3. And I'm not remembering what might be the 3rd one, but I think those are 2 of the 3. Grand Budapest Hotel. Marigold Hotel. No, they're good. Everything Everywhere. Well, Everything Everywhere All at Once is not in the top 10, I don't think, but it's very interesting. It was, it came out last year, and so it was our number 1 grossing movie of 2022, and then it re-came out this year, and Barbie's going to top it, but currently it's our top grossing film of 2023 as well, which is really bizarre. So. Question was if there's an actor or director that I kind of relate to.
More just personality or others. Sometimes I'll watch Anthony Hopkins and I just emerge with what I sense to be what I enjoy about his work. So I was curious.
Yeah, I don't know that I have any one particular person, but the more movies, and film critics get this too, so the more movies you watch, the harder it is to see something new and fresh and to impress you. And so when I can get one of those, doesn't matter if it's because of an actor or an actress or the concept of the film itself, if I can get that special wow, I call it my wow factor. And I literally will, when the movie finishes, I'll go wow, and it's like, okay, that was one of them. And I look for those. I only see 2 or 3 a year, maybe like that. But I really, when I get one of that's what makes my job so much fun. She's giving the mic back there.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Could you define the taste attributes of the Tacoma audience that you mentioned?
That's a good. Yeah, and I don't know in a certain way, but I mean, for a long time I've said if you could get a British movie that stars Helen Mirren and Judi Dench in it or something like that, and it's like, okay, that's going to sell out at the Grand. But mostly just looking for films that feel kind of intelligent and that people can think a little bit about, and that people like to talk after a film, and you walk out and you see it with a friend or do a post-film discussion or something that you want to talk about, and it carries with you a little bit, and that's Tacoma really likes that. And Tacoma likes animal films, dog films, horse films. Yeah, so there's some of those.
So when you're looking for new movies, are you just looking for new releases? Or if you have, there's so many untapped, fantastic films around the world, are you looking for suggestions or recommendations from people?
Always, yeah. If anybody who ever emails me with a suggestion, I always respond, and I always look into it. If it's not one I don't know already, I look into it and figure it out. Mostly when new releases, but with that Silver Screen Society that we're doing, that gives us a chance to pull in some older ones. So especially if we can come up with a concept to twirl it around, and maybe if there's some outside organization that we can partner with, those really do well. So yeah, if you have suggestions, email me. Philip@grandcinema.com or info@grandcinema.com, and I'll get it either way.
You're saying that a film may stay on screens for a week or a month, whatever. Do you recall what were 2 or 3 films that actually had really long longevity, like they stayed on screen for a long time?
Well, it predates me, but I think the Big Fat Greek Wedding was just there forever. King's Speech. I mean, any of the ones that gross a whole lot. There was. It did solid. There was a. Nah, I'm losing. See, you talk about movies, and I'm like, you give me a computer in front of me, and I can scroll through and give you all kinds of answers. But it's really hard for me to pull them off the top of my head.
I have a question about the upcoming film festival. So it's kind of multiple parts. Have you already selected all of the film festival films, and when does that pass kind of go out for sale? And is there something we should really watch for, like we should not miss in this year's festival?
Yeah. So. We start accepting films usually about right around Christmas of each year before the next year. Submissions have closed for this year, so we're in the frantic phase of, it's October's coming up pretty fast. We're in every film has been watched at least once, and we've got to team of people who watch them. I'm one. I don't watch as there's another person on staff who watches way more of the film festival films than I do. So now we're watching the films that the reviewers, the first reviewers, either didn't know for sure. So we're whittling those down. So I don't have any precise ones that to say to do. One thing most years I do a Phillips or executive director's short picks, and so I'll do a package of films that I've found. I haven't requested them all yet, but like some 4 or 5 shorts that I saw at Sundance that I want to bring in part of the package, and then other shorts that we see throughout the course of the year.
And when does the marketing for that start? When do you start watching for that?
So the film festival's October 7th, I think it starts, whatever that Thursday is. And we'll usually release all the films coming out sometime in about a month ahead of time. So watch for that online, and we'll if you're not getting our weekly emails, you can just go to grandcinema.com, and at the bottom down there's this place you can just sign up, and then we'll get you those, and then you'll be the first to know when it comes out.
I had a question and a comment. We've lived here about 8 years in Tacoma. In my first or second year here, I was a film previewer. I saw 27 films in 2 weeks, and I went crazy. And there was and the thing I wanted to say was, thank you, whoever made the decision. We had to see the entire film. I can usually tell and think in 5 minutes if I'm going to like something or not, but we had to see the whole thing, and I thought that was very helpful. My question is, do you keep track of the average age of your audience? What might it be?
Yeah, we don't as they come in, but we do most every year we do an email survey that goes out, and it's self-selecting of who answers it, and you have to be on our email list to have gotten it and things like that. But we definitely skew an older audience, but it's definitely COVID has shifted our trends a lot, and to some degrees I feel like I'm relearning my job because some of our older patrons are not coming back as much, and we're getting a lot more younger people. So the age group is coming down, but I mean, it wouldn't be surprising. Our typical average age and would be like a 60-year-old woman is our most common characteristic on that. Yeah. And if you need to cut me off, or cut them off. Last two questions.
I do love the Grand, but I have to say, I don't like that you have to pick your seat before you go into the theater. And I just wondered what was the reason for that, because it wasn't that way when I first started going there. I'm short, and I really need to pick a seat where a tall person isn't sitting in front of me.
It's two things. We started doing it after COVID, and the initial thing was so that we could do assigned seats and have social distancing between people. So that was the first reason. Most theaters do assigned seats now. It helps a lot for people who, especially if you're driving from someplace else. We have people who drive up from Olympia or further away, and they like to know what kind of seat they're going to get and know it for sure and not have to show up a long time ahead of time, because when we have really big crowds, if you get there at the end, you're on the first row, even if you bought it 3 weeks ago. And so that's the biggest reason that people are really preferring to know where they're going to sit, and it makes it easier for them to do. But I know it's not perfect, and I get that. We do have, I don't know if it helped, we have little cushions. It might give you another fraction of an inch, but yeah. Yes. Yeah, so there's not all upsides, but that's the biggest reason is it helps people know what the seat they're going to get when they get there. So last question.
I'm a very avid foreign film watcher, and I was just wondering if the Grand shares that same taste and what maybe the ratio is on domestic versus foreign films.
I definitely love foreign films. Unfortunately, Tacoma is not liking them as much anymore, and as I program films, we're probably doing fewer of those because the people are just not turning up for them. The one advantage, though, if you're free on Tuesdays, I started doing a Tuesday film series multiple years ago, and that was a way to bring in some smaller, brand new films that wouldn't be justified playing for a full week, but you might be able to get an audience for that day, and they'll play for a matinee and an evening. So a lot of the foreign films get kind of funneled into that, unless they have a lot of dollars behind them. The old Amelies of the world are kind of past, unfortunately.
Thank you, Phil.
Thank you, everybody.
The tripod presentations are usually on third Fridays, but this coming month it's going to be the fourth Friday, which is August 25th. And there's a mailing list back there, an email invitation list. If you're not on it, get on it, because I'll send you a reminder about that date. And that evening's presentations will be 3 photographers, Rosari Lynch, Davis Freeman, and Andrew Crandall. So next is Leah Morgan.
All right, hello, thanks for having me. Let's see, oh, are these in order? No. Well, oh, all right, well, I mean, to be honest, yeah, they weren't in any particular amazing order as far as my conversation around like Tacoma's personality. And I'm curious, out of the group, who all is new to Tacoma and who all has been here quite some time. Yeah, when I thought about Tacoma's personality, I reached out to some folks from here, from all different walks of life and different ages and backgrounds, and got all kinds of different answers. And it was really lovely. Okay, hold on. Oh, well, all right, we're going backwards. Sorry, people. I mean, you'll like Tacoma. That was the name of what I decided this little show to be. I felt like it was such a good, like, we're not over-promising. We're just saying, like, you'll like Tacoma. And so I organize the Tacoma Night Market. I work with all kinds of amazing artists and small businesses every month, and like hundreds, it's turned into where I work with hundreds of folks, hundreds of small businesses every month. And one of the common themes is that we are incredibly proud, that Tacoma is really proud of ourselves, even though there are flops, which is like the Galloping Gertie, but there are so many different like forms of merchandise that artists and small businesses have put out that represent Tacoma in some way, because yeah, we definitely want to represent. This was from, we also just like show up for one another, support each other, encourage being silly and sweet. This is at one of my events, a father showing up for his daughter who was too nervous to sing the song she signed up for to sing karaoke. And originally she couldn't even reach the microphone, but he got up there and started singing with her, and I just thought that was super lovely. I also just love, so there, you know, again, in reference to just the merchandise and the things that we put out because we're proud to be from Tacoma. I loved how simple and sweet this was. It sort of just reminded me of like the tagline of "You'll like Tacoma." Okay, we're not over-promising. It's pretty simple. I live in the South Side, Lincoln district of Tacoma, and there are lots of small but really lovely homes, really well kept, and just seems obvious that folks own their homes. And a lot of my neighbors have lived in these communities for a really long time. My next door neighbors have lived there and been married for the last 51 years, and I cherish getting to connect with them and ask them questions. And he likes to brag about how much he paid for his home, which was $24,000, and he has a beautiful, beautiful home. And yeah, I just think about Tacoma's character, Tacoma's personality, who we are, and it's diverse, it's rich, we show up for one another. There were all kinds of amazing quotes that friends of mine sent me that I was trying to get my computer to show to me. I tried to print earlier, which my printer wouldn't work, and then my computer is dark and I'm not really savvy at making it light fast. So I'll try to think through some of those quotes. But so Victoria Martinez, she's an amazing performer. She worked for me at the night market because I was too busy organizing all of it. And she offered, I'm going to be in town. She's from here. I don't know if anyone knows who she is. She was in the first season of The Voice, and has just gone on to do all kinds of amazing things, and lives in New York City, and was in town visiting her family in Tacoma, and wanted to come support the event itself, but also offered for her and her partner, who are actresses, to work my booth, knowing that I was really busy, that I run around doing so much for all the other small businesses that I often couldn't attend. Like, I just was absent from my space. And I also, it was hard, like, to afford to, I mean, again, why I was doing this was to try to build, like, celebration and support around our creative community. And I just ultimately at that time couldn't really afford to hire somebody to work my booth. So for her to just show up in so many ways felt like a real reflection of Tacoma's personality, just that, that we're not too cool for school. Our neighbors from the north, Seattle, we've kind of always been in the shadow of. There's always been kind of a chip on our shoulders. I sort of, when I reflected and then I got back from multiple people about our personality, we felt like middle child syndrome kind of folks, and I can relate as a middle child, but that we sort of never got quite all of the attention that we wanted or deserved, and we're always fighting for it. And there's Olympia in our south, which is wonderful, and I love, and we all love, and is our capital. And then there's Seattle, and that's just so cool, and there's so many amazing things going on. But Tacoma has always had really wonderful things that inspired me. I didn't mean to land on this particular, but we also can't deny just that we're a working class town. There's that. That wasn't what I meant to land on. But there's like incredible art everywhere that has inspired me all my life. I grew up here. I'm from, there we are, with another friend of mine. I'm from Victoria, BC, but I grew up in Tacoma. I've been here for the last 37 years of my 39 years of living. These are baby head cups from a glass-blowing friend of mine that I met probably 21 years ago now, when I was a teenager working at the Museum of Glass, a super strange mold that he made in college, but has become kind of one of his signature pieces. So I'm like, we're weird. Like, this is the most sought after of, he's an incredibly talented glassblower. In fact, this weekend I asked what he was doing, and he's flying out to Italy because he's going to go teach in Italy. I mean, again, and he's been in Hawaii all summer. I mean, back and forth from Hawaii multiple times this summer. But Tacoma is just like, do you got any more of those baby head cups? Which I just love, that we're so weird, and we can't ignore like our backdrop. I mean, every day everyone acknowledges, if it's out, how beautiful she is. I always say that she's really fucking cute. Some of my friends are like, what? That's a strange way to describe her, but like, our Mount Tahoma just, is stunning, just takes our breath away, and is such a big part of our personality and culture, I think, here, because there's so many things that she's inspired, and we're a town of creative folks. This is Vicki and I singing again at the Tag Festival. She's my best friend. She lets me sing I Fucked Up. This song I was singing for my mother, who had passed away, but who was a huge part of my commitment to Tacoma and my creative community. So we wanted to sing it together. We practiced. I totally fucked it up. Vicki just like kept encouraging, we just kept going. And that felt really incredible. This just feels like it represents Tacoma. There's brown tea. It's super funky and weird. This is art from a ceramicist who, participates in our events. I get like teary-eyed. I'm also like, maybe I also embody what I think Tacoma's personality is, which was also a thing that my mom learned from the 25 years before she passed away, the 25 years of working in the Tacoma School District, a term called a hot mess. She used it all the time after she learned it from her students. And it felt really silly coming from her. It was so cute and sweet and just silly coming from her, but I feel like I embody that. I'm sort of always trying to like get in as much as I can, do as much as I can for my community, for everyone. I have a foster puppy here with me right now. And I've been reaching out this last week to a vendor who's really struggling. I'm sorry for being emotional, but she's really struggling with her mental health. And so, yeah, they're my family. I really love our creative community. I grew up in community, and my parents, I mean, they just gave us such a gift. Oh God, sorry. Of being able to like connect with so many amazing folks throughout my life that I consider such dear friends of mine. And because of that, my devotion to our community and our, gosh, I'm sorry.
Take your time, don't worry, take a breath. Okay, good pause.
Thanks. This was beautiful representation. This was the Puyallup tribe that we invited to perform at the beginning of our tag festival, which was Together in Art and Glass. It was the first time it happened last year. And I was asked by the executive director of our tourism bureau to put on this event and work with all of our museums downtown, which was so wonderful, but it was a really big undertaking. And but it also felt really special. I had never put on an event until I put on the Tacoma Night Market. And I did that because I just felt like there wasn't, well, not to say that, I mean, there was all kinds of amazing art markets and ways to represent yourself, but I really wanted it to feel like a celebration of creativity and community and have this opportunity for Tacoma to show up for one another and really celebrate. And so anyway, I don't have any formal background in putting on events nor running businesses, and I get asked to, host classes and workshops for small businesses, and so it's really wild to me, but my family are Indigenous people from the Pacific Northwest in Canada, and it felt really important to honor our Puyallup tribe and this being their land and kind of giving thanks. So it's just been so neat to be able to have a voice in this town that otherwise, I connect, between all kinds of different executive directors and people within the city and a lot of wealthy folks and then a lot of really poor folks and a lot of really creative, amazing people. And I go to bat for them and I don't back down about, kind of being an advocate for like the fact that I want this to be a thriving creative community. And I think it really is. Lynn, and there's, just a handful of folks that I remember growing up, going to their events, being incredibly, incredibly inspired by. And so to me, Tacoma, when I think about our personality, it's sort of, we've got a chip on our shoulder, we're gritty and this and that. I've never really loved that as a descriptor, but it certainly seems to be one that has stuck. But has just been like such an incredible creative place to grow up. I've gotten to travel around the world to, a studio in Kenya, but just in Europe and really all over because of opportunities that I've had started here at the Museum of Glass or at the Hilltop Artists in Residence program. And Tacoma is just such a diverse and beautiful place and working class blue collar town. I love this artist who makes work out of the roof tile from our old original city hall and from that clock tower, and it's just such a wonderful patina, and instead of trying to do something else with it, to just turn it into this beautiful wearable art. I really loved that celebration of our history and of sort of the rustic, rough edges that Tacoma yeah, just sort of wears proudly as our part of our personality. We really wanted to get a nice photo of one of my events, and this police truck wouldn't move, and it was really frustrating, and oopsie daisy. It was fairly irritating at the moment. There was a whole bunch that I was sifting through, trying to see, like, did we get one where it's less in the way? And then I'm like, well, I guess I'll just show that our police force, is also just a part of Tacoma. Unfortunately, it's something that we ought to be mindful of, the way that it has impacted our community, the way that it touches community members, people of color, and just people who have, families have been here historically for a long time. There's a lot of lovely folks moving to this area and really enjoying what they're seeing, but there's a lot of folks who have been here again, grown up here, been here generationally, and are just getting pushed out and mistreated, and I personally don't have a ton of respect for the Tacoma Police Department, but I'd like to, and so they're a part of it. They're a part of our personality. They don't get to not be a part of it. Grit City Magazine, they're just. I'm just really excited about the work that they're doing. Their magazine is hand-bound. They stitch it by hand. The effort that they make, the artists that they work with artists every month to create a new poster for it. And it's just been such a wonderful representation of our town, and the effort we'll make sometimes are ridiculous, in such a ridiculous way. It could be a lot easier, and we make it harder than it ought to be. These are from another artist that I work with, and I just really loved everything. These are just wonderful kind of prayer flags that she makes and that I feel are important. And I feel like Tacoma cultivates empathy because of our history. It's a bit rough. There's a lot of my family in Canada was scared to come to Tacoma. My dad's family is from the States, my mom's family is from Canada, and our family in Canada just thought there were guns everywhere, and it was sort of the wild, wild west, but I grew up in such a different, I just was so confused when they'd reference that to me. I was like, I've never seen a gun. This is when I was younger. I think now I've probably seen a gun, but not in a violent way. But I grew up amongst such amazing community and people lifting one another up and working together and being kind, cultivating empathy, protecting and loving one another. Guadalupe House and Nativity House are places for our houseless community members to show up and have some support, whether they need food, whether they need something to drink, clean themselves off, some other resources, the list goes on. And there are places that I grew up singing and eating and working in the gardens and just being raised by, and I'm so grateful. So this feels like it represents. Celebrate. Look at this place. We're so incredibly lucky. I just feel so grateful. And I just really love the diverse community members and small businesses and artists and creative folks that I get to work with from all the different reaches of Tacoma. When people were getting back to me about Tacoma's personality, there were definitely a few folks that referenced it really depends on where, what neighborhood you're talking about, or where, what you're referencing, who you're talking to. And so I thought that was really interesting to me because I grew up in, but also the reach that I have because of the work that I do is just so vast. So I'm like, oh, okay, interesting. Here's my impression, but it is really interesting to hear others or people that are just moving to Tacoma. My event was promoted a lot, just really it was a surprise to me. I had no idea that a bunch of real estate agents were promoting my event and telling people to buy homes in Tacoma because of the Tacoma Night Market, because it celebrated the things that were special about Tacoma, and it really showcased our personality, our creative community. That was wonderful, but it was really interesting because I had a friend reach out to me who was moving down from Seattle with their partner, and was getting sold Tacoma by the Tacoma Night, or by her, real estate agent, because of the Tacoma Night Market. And so it felt a bit ironic, because it also is something that I'm really tender about, the prices of homes. I had to really fight to be able to purchase a home in the town that I grew up in, and the town that I get promoted about. I mean, why to move here? I had to pay 50% and borrow money from family members to be able to buy a home in the town that I grew up and have spent the last 37 years. And that's hard. It's a hard thing to accept. God, I'm such an emotional baby child. These are just images from events. One of the questions that I got asked by, I'm just gonna go back, by a vendor who was queer and trans and 25 years old, was like, did I intentionally set out to create a space for queer community members in Tacoma? And I was like, well, yes and no. I mean, I wanted everyone to feel safe and supported and encouraged and celebrated, and like have a place for all of us to gather together and lift one another up. And certainly as a queer person, in turn, really, was mindful of all community members. And so I just love that that's a place that people have recognized is a safe place. Because Tacoma, oh gosh, sorry. Crybaby. Well, Tacoma, we love, God, we goddamn love Tacoma. There were so many images that I went through that had Tacoma or the Dome or just some kind of representation of just wanting to promote and tell people like how much we love this town, this grit city, and this place that has historically kind of a gnarly reputation, but is just such a diamond in the rough, such a gem. Again, just so many examples of us representing our beautiful town, and are also the ways in which bigger businesses in the city have shown up for us, and people just inviting me in to host all of these creative, talented folks. This is Cheer Tacoma, a queer cheerleading, really inclusive, really special group of folks. And just, again, representation of beautiful community members and parts of our, small business and creative community. Somebody described Tacoma as innovative, and this was from an artist who teaches at IDEA, one of the high schools in Tacoma, and industrial, IDEA? Industrial design and engineering and stuff. There was SAMI, which was science and math. There was SOTA, which was Tacoma School of the Arts. But this was 3D printed. All of their jewelry was 3D printed. They teach there. This is actually their partner showing their stuff. But what an incredible thing. Those schools, my sister was in the first graduating class. Incredible. Really, really special and innovative. The Hilltop Artist in Residence program. I'm sorry, I just ramble, I know. I'll just work through them. That I just think they're so special. These dolls made that she's more than a princess. But yeah, that was real. People were just. Tacoma was so laughing and trusting. I don't lock my door most of the time. My back door right now is not locked, and all my animals, except for this puppies, are there. People were just letting their kids run around in the spring. As soon as it got sunny out, just running around, and parents were inside shopping and doing their thing. We're like, this is lovely, but we're not their babysitters. We don't want to be responsible. We want to make sure everybody's safe. So please keep an eye on your children. But yeah, Tacoma's personality. We're just so weird and funky and creative, and I'm just so proud of this beautiful place. Sorry, I definitely am kind of scatterbrained at this point now of just crying and being excited. Like, contrary to popular belief, as much of an extrovert as I am, I get incredibly nervous to speak in front of folks. So, yeah, I'm just a little flustered, but thanks for bearing with me. And folks can ask questions if they want. I mean, I know there's a bit of a timeline, but just more folks that inspire me. Their front yard is always an installation, and I'm sure old friends of yours, Lynn. But yeah, I am who I am, and I'm doing what I'm doing because of artists. Like, didn't mean to end it on a cry like that, but it's true. You're the best. Oh my goodness gracious. Well, that's it. You're the best, but I feel like the other one is a good one to
Any
end on too.
questions?
Oh, for goodness sakes.
It's not a question. Is this on? Can you hear me? It's not a question so much as appreciation, because we moved to Tacoma because we wanted a sense of community, and we could feel it here. It's palpable. And so congratulations. We came to the tag market. It was fantastic. And I heard you sing. You did a beautiful job. And so, and crying is beautiful. I think if in a beautiful space with people who are genuinely caring and interested, it comes out. And so it's a beautiful space to do that. Thank you.
Yeah. It's hard for me to talk about. I mean, lately my mom has been coming up a lot for different reasons, and losing her right as I started all of this, or I mean, sort of months into starting all of this, and her last conversation with her, like, being about how proud she was of me. But it's a big part of this experience for me, of my commitment, like, to my community and connection to my community. And
never be embarrassed.
I've been pretty tender lately, if I'm being honest. So thank you for making me feel okay about just ending this in a ball of tears, for God's sakes. I'm wearing a cool jumpsuit. I'm like sweaty all over. I'm a hot mess, as she would say. Oh, for gosh sakes. I mean, happy to answer questions, and now that we're all just like, I don't like being, you know, this makes me feel a little better. But also thank you that you are a big part of doing special events and being a part of getting to go to things that you did 20 years ago, you know, while I was 15, 17, 21. I mean, you know, 100 monkey parties, all these things. I mean, Tacoma is and has been so special for so long. It drives me a little crazy when folks are like, wow, Tacoma's really doing some cool stuff now, you know, like just now, just because you're seeing it now and you're recognizing it, or you were forced to buy a home here because you couldn't afford Seattle, and you eventually accepted your fate down here, like, doesn't mean that this place hasn't been doing really special things, you know, for its own, like, its own inner circle, but then the ripple effect that that has is just so vast and magic, and so all that stuff was just so impactful for me.
Thank you.
God, thank you. I'm sorry, I don't know why I'm so emotional today. Thanks, everyone, and if anyone has had please, Leah.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for coming. Thanks to the speakers that put these shows together. There aren't any honorariums. They're just doing it out of generosity. Thank you. See you soon.